What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild, episode 149, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-hosts, Roffle and Corbett. Guys, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. You know, it seems like every time we take a week off, a whole bunch of news gets dumped in the meantime. So we've got a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, so much news. And then some not news. That's not like things that we would like to maybe have had happen, which hasn't happened. But I don't know. There's a lot to dig into. Personally, this is if I'm a little slow today, this is probably the worst I felt on a Monday since last Monday. So hopefully I'm all together for the rest of the show.
All right, so basically what I'm hearing is we'll talk for a little bit, give you some time to wake up before you have to chip in here. So yeah, we took a week off because there hadn't been a balance patch announcement or anything, and it was going to be kind of the same old when it came to Twist and Wild. And then we kind of got a lot dumped on us, including maybe the reason that we didn't get a balance patch for Twist. So let's start there with a tweet from Maleko, basically kind of confirming that the next balance patch, due to technical reasons, would not be coming out until their regularly scheduled balance patch window that they have after the mini set. So it seems like with the mini set, which we'll get to in a second here, coming out on the 19th, it feels like we're not getting a balance patch for Wild or Twist or anything like that until the week after, when it comes to the 26th or the 28th. They did note out Warlock, so I think we can confirm that there will be at least a Warlock location change, but yeah, no balance patch for at least another week here.
Yeah, it's just it's very unfortunate, and it seems to be a consequence of the release cadence that they've been on, especially with Twist and Caverns of Time kind of accelerating that a little bit. So much new content is coming out that they don't have the space in the patch deployment to actually make the balance changes, which is unfortunate because Twist and Wild both desperately need them right now. Both formats are, essentially overrun by 3 decks, maybe 4 in Wild if you're being generous, maybe 4 in Twist if you're being generous as well. And like the distance between like the good decks and the not good decks is pretty drastic. So it would have been nice if, like, when they have a standard release, that was accounted for and planned for, but that was simply not the case this time around, I guess. So sucks to suck.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that a major patch goes out with new content on the 31st, and the next available patch for card chainers isn't until, I don't know, presumably like the 28th. We're going a full 4 weeks here. Like, this is not something that we have become too accustomed to. Like, we've been relatively pampered when it comes to the frequency of balance changes for a very long time. And you can't undo that, all right? You've set a certain standard. You've set a certain level of care. We expect to be treated like kings and queens, all of us Hearthstone players. And how dare you give us 4 weeks off with an unbalanced format? It does kind of make me laugh because it's like when they nerfed Jade Druid the first time around, that was like the speediest change ever, and that was like 6 weeks. So yeah, imagine doing 2 more weeks this.
This was the true nostalgic feeling of the Twist format, where we don't get balance patches for months and months. But yeah, it is a little, I think, a little sad though that we're kind of going this whole first season of Twist without a balance patch, and so it's like a season dominated by 3 decks. And maybe 4 again if you're being generous, but I think that's like the saddest part about all this. But like, obviously I think it's important for people to understand that like game development is hard. It's a lot harder than you think, and coding is hard, and finding windows to do all of this is difficult. So like I think it's disappointing for us, but like I guess nothing we can really do about it. Nothing you can really get mad at the devs for, I think. So
as somebody that worked very closely with the release team at a software company for several years, deploying patches is not necessarily as easy as just pressing a go live button. And I can assure you that there are times where I was very frustrated that a fix wasn't going out, and the developers I spoke with were too. So it's not necessarily just as easy as change some numbers and push them live, unfortunately. But at the same time, I think that like maybe better planning could have been done in order to, have that room in the, because essentially we're getting the balance patch in the window as an expectation for something needing to change for standard once again. So like having that same expectation baked into the Caverns of Time would have been nice, especially since there were so many things that were so obviously broken going into that we did predict. And it was about as bad, maybe worse than some of us anticipated going in terms of balance. Twist has been fun in spite of that, but like it would have been nice. So I think that yes, there are technical limitations that prevent them from pushing a patch and before whenever they're able to do it. But like some of that is just the nature of the preparation and the planning that was put in place. So like I think it's fair to be disappointed without necessarily assigning direct blame to any individual.
Yeah, I think the point, the way that I framed that might have been wrong, as in like it's not necessarily like don't flame people for not caring about Wilder Twist, because I think it's less about that and it's more on the technical thing rather than it's Wild and Twist players, they don't care. I'm pretty sure that's the way to look at that. Again, it is a little bit frustrating though, like you guys have said about that. That being said, I think we should also mention, since this balance patch is coming at the end of the month, there will be technically new rules for Twist next month that have been kind of under the radar announced. Like not a lot of fanfare about it, but basically it will be essentially the same format, right? Same cards legal, with a little bit of the twist that's going to be affecting all Hearthstone modes, plus the new rule that you can build decks with anywhere between 30 to 40 cards. So you can build like a 33 card deck if you would like to. But your starting health will be whatever the number of cards is in your starting deck. So kind of think about Renathal without actually having to put Renathal in your deck. What are y'all's takes on kind of this new set of rules and how it might actually impact gameplay within Twist?
I think finally what this does is provide an outlet for people that are incapable or too stubborn to refine a list down to a perfect 30 and instead just end up with like several one-ofs for God knows what reason. This allows them the space to put 2 copies of those cards in and end up with a nice clean 33 cards, like you said. In all seriousness, I think we saw some of the benefits that like Renathal can provide in slowing certain things down. I don't know why you would ever stop. I don't know why you would stop in between the 10 extra cards for the 10 additional health necessarily. Like I don't know, maybe there's some weird edge cases, but like you either want the health or you want the consistent deck, right? So I can see decks like Control Warrior maybe making decent use of it, just because not only do they benefit from the higher health total as we saw like in control matchups, but like they've got a few like edge case cards that like the 35th through 45th, maybe not that far, the 30, or sorry, I'm doing this wrong, the 25th through 35th cards are about equal in terms of like viability. So there are already cards that you kind of want to include, but either don't have the space or are forced to include because you need to fill out the deck depending on your perspective. So I think that's probably the one that makes the most sense to me. But that also will depend a little bit on what happens to Warlock, I guess, because Warlock is kind of not only dominating things, but also kind of like blocking things out of the metagame right now.
Yeah. The general, like, it's hard to evaluate because we don't know what the actual format's going to look like in terms of patch. So in that sense, it's a little tricky to get like too specific. But I mean, I think what we learned with Renathal first go around, right, is that the card is most effective in big, fat, mid-range piles that have somewhat limited synergy among cards and don't have outstanding removal. So example recently being Hunter in Standard. Has continued to work really well with Renathal. So a deck like Jade Rogue Jade Cthulhu Rogue, for example. Like, very limited removal. Like, the pieces that it has aren't overly synergistic. It still has a lot of cards that can play, and benefits a ton from the health total for matchups like Hunter. And it'll still inevitably outlast decks like Warrior, especially when it has that cushion that can't get pushed face as much. So, like, a Jade Rogue is a really good example of just, like, mid-range minions on curve, limited removal, good stuff. Reno decks, they probably have a little bit more room to breathe as well. Reno obviously working super well with 40 cards, and again, being kind of this non-synergistic pile a lot of the time. So that can help. And maybe like Druid. Maybe Druid can be functional. Like Jade or Cthulhu. Right now, Druid is in a firm like tier 7, tier 8 kind of range when it comes to Twist, so it's got a very long way to go. But if the format naturally trends to be less aggressive, things like Hunter get pushed out, and it really makes use of that 40 cards and the full health total, then maybe Druid does get better as well. But yeah, in general, like, not the biggest fan of this one. I will say as well, I think Warrior probably gets worse, for what it's worth, because Warrior actually wants to push face damage and loses to big mid-range piles. But yeah, not the biggest fan of this one, to be honest. I think it might have been a little bit more interesting if you could go down on the card pool. Instead of going 30 to 40, maybe you could do like 20 to 40 or something like that. Maybe that's too broken for the aggressive decks. But it would have been a little different, because like Roffle said, it's hard to figure out why you wouldn't just go either 30 or 40. Like, the decks that want to be synergistic and aggressive are going to go 30, and then the decks that want the max health are probably going to go 40. There are fringe cases, like if there's a really weird, massive drop in card quality for some reason, but that's a pretty niche scenario. Usually, like, there's always another Hearthstone card that you can include. But yeah.
Yeah, I think when Renethal came out, when we were talking about it in terms of Wild, I know one of my concerns was, like, are the 10 extra cards worth the 10 life, right? Are the 10 cards powerful enough? And in Wild, that ended up being, like, most of the time, yes. When Renethal gave you 40 life, because in that format, I felt like the speed of the format, the 10 health actually was really relevant. I don't know. You said that there's always another Hearthstone card. When you're only staring at this limited card pool and Twist, the next Hearthstone card is like, I don't know how good that card is. It seems putting Loot Hoarder in your deck doesn't seem like the move, you know?
Yeah, I kind of felt that same way even when Reno was brought up. It's like, it's already hard enough to get 30 unique Hearthstone cards in a Twist deck right now. Maybe that is one where you just call it good at 35 and move on, because, like, I don't know. Well, again, it's very hard to predict. Like, Reno decks don't really exist in the format right now because of how oppressive the top decks are. So it's kind of hard to predict how things are going to shake out with the before the balance patch comes.
Yeah. Again, I don't really want to harp on this too much, but personally, when I saw this announced, it felt really, because this was announced around the same time with the like the balance patch not happening until the end of the month, and it's like, well, I was really excited about this Twist format because, like, the nostalgia and playing these old decks, and then I haven't gotten to play any of those, and then all of a sudden these things are changing, and so maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but I'm really hoping that this rule doesn't do a whole lot, because I don't know how much it's going to shift the meta.
See,
but we don't know what the meta is, so.
Right.
Yeah.
My issue is kind of the opposite. Like, the whole point of Twist is that it's supposed to change from month to month, and this is very samey to what it was, right? Like, this is hardly a rules change at all, from my perspective. So, like, I mean, that's what Twist is. It's not going to be the same format from month to month. But this time around, it probably will be pretty close. I think the balance changes are more likely to cause disruption than the rules change necessarily.
Yeah, I don't really have any stresses about playing old decks, because that's all being completely thrown out with card buffs and card changes. So, like, as long as the game's kind of, like, they feel like old Hearthstone, they don't have to be the exact same decks. They come from that era and they have that same vibe, then that's totally fine. Like Control Warrior feels like an old Hearthstone deck, and this did not exist, not even close when Gadded Zan was around. So, not stressed about that. But yeah, I definitely echo what Roffle says, where I was ideally, I think there would be something a little bit more dramatic rather than just this. But we haven't seen it play out, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's also, it's when you're as limited as you are in terms of the card pool, it's hard to do anything terribly dramatic either, right? Like having something like especially in this, having no neutrals again would be terrible for it, because like you lose Cthulhu and all that. So it's like you're pretty limited unless they have, you know, some creative ideas that they haven't, you know, announced or shown their hand on yet. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my hesitation with the rule change, like the reason that I'm in the opposite boat is like I don't even know that I'm like playing old Hearthstone decks. They don't even feel like our old Hearthstone decks, because all I'm playing against is like Jade Rogue and Discard Warlock and things like that, which weren't old Hearthstone decks. I don't know. Maybe I'm. It seems like I'm in the minority, at least on the three of us. But all that. But yeah, I don't know. Regardless, I'm just looking forward to this balance patch, I think, more than anything, in terms of not having 80-90% of my games be against the same three classes. That being said, spoke about this a lot longer than we were supposed to. Next news before we still have a whole mini set to talk about, guys. But we do want to touch on a little bit of news that has been announced on Friday, and that is that Matt London, so he's the leads or the modes designer, the modes lead. And so that was both for Twist and Wild, which are the kind of the two things that we cover on this, has moved on to a new position. And so he has moved on to associate narrative director. I don't know how to say that, for the unannounced survival game for Blizzard. And so that means he is no longer leading the charge on Twist and Wild. And so I'll put the link to his announcement, down in the description if you guys like to read what he posted. But I just wanted to ask you guys if you guys had anything you guys wanted to add or say to Matt, as he bids farewell to the Wild and Twist communities.
Yeah, I guess first and foremost, I want to thank him for joining us for that interview when he was kind of, these things don't happen overnight, so probably on the way out at the time that all was going on. So I appreciate him making the time to do that. I've been seeing a lot of, Reddit-y takes all over the internet about people kind of rejoicing over him leaving just because they're dissatisfied with the state of Wild, and so the balance implementation of Caverns of Time and Twist in general. A few things I'll say about that. I think that the balance philosophy that's kind of like pushing Wild in the direction that it's been going for the past ever started before Matt. It'll continue after Matt. I don't think that there's any reason to assign all of that responsibility on him entirely, especially since he wasn't a game designer, or he was a game designer. He wasn't in charge of the balance, right? Like Final Design still had the last say on what cards get shipped, I would, from my understanding. So like disappointment for like the lack of balance within Twist and Caverns of Time doesn't necessarily fall solely at his hands. I guess the biggest thing that I'm trying to say is that people overestimate how impactful, good or bad, a single individual is within an entire company or team. And assuming things are going to get better because the person who was in charge when you started getting dissatisfied with the game is a little bit naive and kind of silly. I think often what happens in these situations is either management refuses to backfill the position or drags their feet in backfilling that position, and you have no one in charge. So like I don't think it's as simple as person I didn't like is leaving, so now things are obviously going to get better. I think it's likely things will remain the same and or potentially get worse because they don't have somebody that's like actually stepping in or voicing concern on behalf of Wild, even if you don't think that it was done frequently enough or to the degree that you want. This role being empty is probably bad for the future of Wild. I would say definitely concerning for the future of Twist, because like who's going to take up that responsibility if there's no one in charge of modes right now? You're just going to plop that back onto like the rest of the initial and final design team, who already has their hands full with new expansions, which are going to take priority. That's like, I don't know. That's my concern, is that like nobody gets hired in that role, and we just have a kind of rudderless set of modes that we want to play. We saw this happen with duels. We saw this happen with mercenaries. Like, I don't know. This is not something that I think should be celebrated necessarily. Whatever your stance is on Matt, and we've definitely voiced some criticism on some of the decisions that were made and some of the things that he said in the past, but like having this role empty is a bad thing for us.
We actually didn't talk about this, and I think Roffle just hit like every point and example that I kind of wanted to bring up. So, damn it, Roffle, why do you have to?
This is why you always go first, so that you always get your points in first. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of when like Alec Dawson left, and people said,
Ixar.
That was great, or Ixar, yeah, Ixar and Alec. Like, the more public facing you are, like, it's not a surprise that Alec Dawson was one of the devs who was doing interviews like with the VS podcast and was like very outspoken on Twitter and really gave thoughts. And Ixar, obviously incredible with community engagement on his Twitter with the AMAs and everything. It's not a surprise that the more like public facing you are, the more backlash and celebrated it is when you eventually leave. Like, nobody's freaking out about, like, people are saying usually probably a lot nicer things about someone like Charky, who just recently left, because Charky didn't have the same social media presence, and we don't actually know anything about what's going on in terms of the team behind the scenes. Like, it's totally disproportionate in terms of like the bigger social media presence that you have, the more you engage the community, the more you get blamed and hated. Whereas if you don't engage with a community like that, you're just kind of behind the scenes, even though we don't really know who's involved with what and how much impact one individual person has when it comes to a game as valuable and just widely played and huge as Hearthstone. So yeah, I mean, rudderless is actually the exact word that I was thinking of, and that is the ultimate concern, because we have seen it. It feels like a little bit before with Arena and duels and the mercenaries. Matt himself said that Twist and Caverns of Time were, passion projects. These were projects of love, basically. And if there's no one else that has that same kind of passion or is in a position to pursue, developing these modes, like, where does that leave things in the future? I think that's a really real concern. It probably means like, are we ever going to get like a Caverns of Time 2.0 type situation? Is that ever going to be a thing? I don't know. How much was Twist planned out for the next 12 months? Like, do they have all the modes, all the formats all planned out? But even if they do, what happens after that? Like, once that goes away, we've seen like Tavern Brawl as well. Tavern Brawl was another mode that had someone, I think, distinctly in charge. And then since then, there's been a lot of like recycling of formats, and maybe that's something that could happen to Twist down the road. But yeah, we'll see. Matt, thank you very much for coming on the show. Congratulations on the new gig. And everyone needs to settle a little bit when it comes to the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, support everything you guys have said. Like, congrats on the new gig, Matt, if you're listening to the show. But like, Matt is good people. Matt is passionate people. Matt loves Hearthstone. Matt loves the community, all that kind of good stuff. Everything he did was to try to make Wild and Twist and all that stuff better. And so, like, the Reddit comments, and I mean, the mistake is actually going and reading those Reddit comments, I think, for anybody.
I didn't have to look on Reddit to find those type of comments, is the thing. That's the disappointing thing. Yeah,
that's fair. No, but Matt, if you're listening, congrats on the new gig, and thanks for everything you've done for Wild and Twist, because at least somebody was doing something, right? I am scared. I'm a little bit worried about what's gonna. You guys have kind of touched on this a little bit. What's going to happen to Twist? I would be very surprised if we saw something like Caverns 2.0. We haven't seen any announcement about anything publicly of somebody taking over like the mode's lead, right?
So. No.
But like, I mean, does that person want to be publicly announced?
That's a very fair point.
Given the response and given everything you just said.
Honestly, very, very good point. All right, but again, thanks, Matt. And that being said, now let's move on to the actual meat of the episode, 25 minutes in. You guys ready to talk about the new Miniset that was announced. I think literally the day after we decided not to record an episode for the week, they were like, "Hey, Minisets here, card reveals, blah blah blah, all that kind of good stuff." So, loaded content to touch on. Miniset for Titans is got something to do with Yogg. I don't actually know what the name of. It's the fall of Ulduar. I don't know what any of that means, but basically Yogg is back. Yogg is doing stuff. I'm not a WoW nerd. I don't know what this place is. You think I read up on the lore when it came to Titans itself? Come on.
I think all you need to know is Yogg is broken free of his prison and he's causing some chaos.
Yeah. As Yogg tends to do. Speaking of chaos, so with the release of the mini set, in addition to the 38 cards that are coming out, the anomalies that are happening in BGs that kind of make every game different, we're getting a twist on that for constructed modes. And so standard, wild, twist, for like the 10 people out there still playing Arena, it's going to happen for you guys too. Every game is going to have the opportunity to get one of these 20 anomalies. And so you'll get one of the 20 randomly. It's not going to go in any sort of order. And these anomalies are going to have some random impact on the game. Something as crazy as just like getting a Yogg that starts in your hand, which is, Yogg, crazy, love that, versus like reducing the cost of cards in your starting hands by 1, because that seems like it's going to be good. Mana discounts in the opening hand, drawing extra cards. So those are the 3 that we had like gotten in the patch notes. We're going to get up to 20. I don't think that they've been announced yet. But there are 20 out there. I know that this is met with a lot of backlash from the community, at least from the kind of hyper engaged players, in terms of like this might remove the competitive integrity of Hearthstone and when it comes to like grinding for ladder finishes and stuff. So is there anything you guys want to say regarding anomalies? Are you guys excited for them? How impactful do you think that they're going to be potentially, given that we don't know 17 out of the 20?
Look, we're talking about the competitive integrity of Hearthstone, which is losing. It's not the only game losing its Hearthstone scene, but it's definitely the one that we play. You know me, I like anomalies. The concern that I do have is that maybe there's a massive like imbalance in how beneficial they are for certain archetypes. Like cost reduction seems pretty concerning for me, as does additional cards in terms of favoring certain archetypes in a way that like it's going to be better for faster decks. Full stop. Probably fast combo, which we have a lot of in Wild. So those types of things do concern me a little bit, but like on the whole, I like the idea of anomalies kind of creating some I don't know, different play pattern experiences within a game that's like a decade old at this point. Like I like the idea of the design team experimenting with this type of thing, given how it's done and how it's been received in Battlegrounds. I'm sure they'll be keeping a close eye on it. Generally, like people are pretty favorable towards this type of thing in Battlegrounds. But like, again, if things are balance outliers, they probably need to step in and remove them from the pool or make some adjustments.
Yeah, fan of this in theory. Like we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, we don't know everything just yet. And there will be certain anomalies that pair particularly well or particularly poorly with certain archetypes. Like imagine trying to play Outcast Demon Hunter and you get a random Yogg-Saron in your opening hand. It's gonna be a rough one. So yeah, it'll be imbalanced. Like I absolutely expect it to be completely nonsense for some of them, but I mean, if you play enough games, it all evens out, right? It's only 20 anomalies. You're not going to get Yogged as Outcast DH 3 games in a row. Like that's just not a thing that's going to happen.
It will happen, just not enough to matter.
If in all games you mean if you play like 3 games of Outcast Demon Hunter, get Yogg in that small sample size, and then quit playing Outcast Demon Hunter because you're tired of it, then yeah, it will happen every time. So
yeah. But in general, like I think it's actually really cool. It hopefully just gives a fresh feeling to constructed Hearthstone for a little bit. Like it should make it so anything that sort of like breaks up the monotonous nature of the game can be good. Like anything that causes things to be a little bit different and it engages your brain. Like that stuff is cool. So I don't know the specifics about like what anomalies have been chosen, or anything, but in general, I think it's all right. As the concerns for the competitive integrity, like who cares? And as for the the players that like just want to play normal Hearthstone, you know, they don't want this. They can't opt out of it. I hear you. I think like it's okay to want that, but again, I kind of don't care. I care that you are upset. I don't care about your arguments about why like this isn't necessarily a good thing. Because
Right, like we're all stuck playing their normal Hearthstone most of the time. Like, give us something fun and engaging to do every once in a while. It's not just about what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And some people have mentioned like, oh, why not put it in casual then? It's like, oh, if the fun, goofy stuff wants to happen, why not just put it in casual, not ranked? It's like, well, because people won't play it. Like, playing a ranked ladder will almost always trump everything else. And so if the team thinks it's fun and they want people to have fun, they will put it in a mode that people will play. Like, they're not gonna put it in casual and let it rot forever. Like, if they want people to have fun, then sometimes you have to maybe try and force people to have fun. And if it sucks, then it sucks. Like, we'll have to wait and see. But I think, like, like BGs isn't the same vanilla normal thing. Like, you can't opt out of all the BG stuff. And I think in general, a lot of the BGs metas with different twists on them have been well received. So, I'm happy that they're trying stuff. I've been playing Hearthstone for 10 years. Like, we're a decade in. Let's get weird. I have no problem with this. I think the team always curates content. It's just typically, obviously, those are with cards. Like, those are with card changes. If Renathal was not an actual Hearthstone card and was just like a 2-month-long rule set, maybe people would react the exact same way negatively, even though the experience of the game would not change at all, just because it's different. And I think people are always like very threatened and very like upset about something that goes against what they think Hearthstone should be. But the team always curates content. This is a different way of curating content that isn't just like different card in the format. I didn't sign up for the Warlock location. I wasn't happy about that change. I don't care. You guys have to not be necessarily happy with Anomalies. It's whatever. Just enjoy it for 2 months. Hopefully, if it sucks, they pull it out or change things and balance things. Whatever.
Of all things that Corb got on a soapbox on, this is one of the ones of all time, and I'm here for it. I love it.
I saw so much rage that I kind of I saw such a huge backlash for it that I felt very, very strongly to defend it.
Oh, fair enough. Like I think all three of us here are I guess the two of us are in support of you in your rants. I play Hearthstone because it's not the same thing every game, and this is just the epitome of that, and I love that. I know that there was a tweet from a dev doing some explanation on the odds of, anomalies in your game and like for how long. I don't care. Like if you don't love anomalies, just you don't have to play it, right? That's I think the advice that I always give. Like if you're not having fun with them, just you can come back at a later time when they're not in the game. And so yeah, I'm excited for them. I'm excited to see the full reveal. And honestly, see how they shake up. Who cares about those standard formats? I'm excited to see how they shake up things in Twist and Wild potentially as well. But yeah, so that was just one of the things that's getting introduced with the mini set. Another one I feel like we should touch on before we actually start talking about the cards, so that I don't have to explain it 14 times. We have this little sub theme of Yogg's tentacles. They're called chaotic tendrils, and so you're gonna have a bunch of cards in the set that are going to say add a tendril to your hand. And so what these are 1-mana minions that are 1/1s with the battle cry. Cast a random 1-cost spell, improve your future chaotic tendrils. And so I believe that the only change is that it becomes a 1-mana 1/1 that casts a random 2-cost spell, 3-cost spell, 4-cost spell, etc. And so yeah, I don't know how great these are going to be in Wild with our vastly, vastly large spell pools, but I know it's going to be really, really fun when you randomly cast an Astral Communion with a handful of 9 cards. That makes perfect YouTube content. And so yeah, just one of those little themes. Anything else you guys want to say before we hop into the actual 38 cards from this mini set?
No, I'm excited to see some of these cards for the first time.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I have not been paying any attention, so this will also be the first time looking at many of these cards. So yeah, you guys are going to get initial impressions and reading comprehension checks from maybe the three of us. Let's start with Demon Hunter. Let's start with Runes of Darkness. I believe this is a new one because I haven't seen any of these cards in a while, so I actually don't know. But we have Runes of Darkness as a 1-mana shadow spell, 1 blood rune. Discover a weapon, spend 3 corpses to give it +1/+1.
I think all weapons are available here, which is probably worse for the card. But I don't know. You could get like a Plague Shuffler or something. It doesn't seem like a strong card. I'm gonna be honest here, just because of the variance within it. But like the +1/+1 on a weapon, it's like a pre-upgrade, right? We've seen that be powerful in the past. So if it had a more reliable hit that you were looking for, I would probably be higher on this card. But it could just be like fine as a card.
Yeah, it doesn't impress me. It's whatever. Yeah. I mean, like we have the drawer weapon discounted by 1. I feel like that card should on paper be stronger, and that card is never ever played. So,
all right. The next card here is Sickly Grime Walker. 3-mana 2/4 undead, 1 unholy rune requirement. After you summon an undead, give it poisonous. So summon, not play. That means the minion summon from your hero power or things like that will also gain poisonous. It is 3 mana though, and so if we're talking about these cards from a WoW perspective, I know I hate to do this, right? I feel like we always get a little bit of feedback about talking cards like this, but it is a 3 mana unholy spell or unholy card in the WoW format.
I mean, I think it's justified to talk about the mana cost in this one in terms of like odd even, because if it were a card that could slot into even, it would be very good just because of the hero power. But like having to spend 5 mana on this to get the effect is pretty brutal and probably like kills the card. If it were maybe, I don't know, 4 mana with better stats, it might be worth it a look, or 2 mana with lower stats, I think it would probably be more likely to be included.
It'd be really funny if it said like whenever you summon an undead, because then it would work with like hardcore cultist AoE. We could have another Flurkle Tox in the format. But the fact that it says after, what an interesting text change. I wonder if this could go on another card hypothetically. A shaman one, maybe. Anyway.
something lessons being learned or something like that. Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about Sinister's Soul Cage, which is the last card here. 4 mana shadow spell, 1 unholy rune requirement. Give a friendly undead +2/+2. Spend 5 corpses to summon a copy of it. I saw somebody bring up the really cute synergy with something like Murlocula in like even DK. But that's a 2-card situational combo in a class that doesn't really have a ton of draw. So I don't know how. Outside of that, like I don't even. First of all, I don't even know if the Murlocula thing is good, but
no, it also spends a whole lot of corpses on things that aren't Grave Strength or Marrowgar. So like, not only are you getting like a subpar play, and then you're not getting your big payoffs as easily as you would otherwise. I think looking at these cards, it seems like Death Knight is going to be pretty bad again in our format for. At least until they get a new set of cards.
Guys, Atomic Reflection costs 3.
It used to cost 4, didn't it? Or did it always cost 3?
No, it always costs 3. Yeah. And this is a 4-mana Atomic Reflection with a 5 corpse payout. Now, totems are not undead, but 4 mana is also not 3 mana. This card sucks.
But doesn't 4 mana mean it's better because you get to play it in even DK?
Buddy, nobody's going to be playing even DK.
Yeah. Very good point. All right, let's move on to Demon Hunter. Hey Corb, you wanna walk us through these? Because I think at least brag about the fact that you got to do this.
Oh yeah, I'm reading these cards for the first time. I had the chance to do these ones as the reveal. So that was neat. And they're absolute bangers, We're just super down on the DK cards a little bit. DH cards are fun. All right, first up we have Saronite Shambler, 2 mana 2/3 elemental battlecry. If you cast 5 or more spells this game, give your hero +4 attack this turn.
This is all out of whack. Who goes first, me or Roffle? I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody go.
I can't play this card on turn 2.
Yeah,
which is
that's,
concerning.
You could. You could.
Well, yeah. I got to spend a lot of blurs to get there.
No, you could also just make this as play this as a River Croc. So,
I mean, yeah, that's probably like you don't want to have to wait until you've cast 5 spells in our format. Usually, like that's the concern that I have with it. And then if it's going in something late game like a Questline Demon Hunter, that's not enough to justify the card inclusion in your deck. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one.
It's funny you mentioned Questline Demon Hunter. I'm actually interested in something like Questline Demon Hunter because I feel like that deck is a lot of spells, including that whole quest that you play on turn 1. And so if you're playing, like, obviously this is not something you want in your opening hand, but is this something that after you drop like 3 Wallopers and then you can use this late game to push that final little bits of burst damage with the second Glaive Tar? Like, I haven't played Questline Demon Hunter in a hot minute. I don't know how tight that deck is in terms of card slots, but it feels like something that might fit in Questline Demon Hunter. I just don't know if the deck itself wants it.
My concern with that and not being a Questline Demon Hunter expert, so I'll get this out of the way before Orb roasts me or agrees with me. The concern that I have about this is in Questline Demon Hunter is that it doesn't draw you cards to make your brutes come down cheaper, and it's not an outcast card to either draw you cards off Glaive Tar or make your Walloper cheaper. So it's kind of like getting in the way with the main game plan of the deck for a pretty moderate like payoff, right? Like we could get something similar from just running Lions friendly, and like that nobody includes that card anymore because like it doesn't contribute, or never included that card because it doesn't contribute to the main like game plan of the deck.
Yeah, I'll not be roasting you, Roffle, for that assessment.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think this makes sense. I mean, there could be like a really fun version with this, like, and Bran, and another card that we can talk about.
That's what I was thinking too. Like you want to cut all the other stuff and just go full on with that.
Yeah, I mean that could be really funny. Probably not very good. Like I think these cards are naturally more like 2 of them are largely more standard, like Burn, Spell, Demon Hunter, where Burn and stuff is an actual thing that you do. Whereas in Demon Hunter, we're doing big dumb swing turns in Wild, like mana burns, draw, drop brutes, yada yada. But a card that does help you draw. Next up, Sigil of Time. A 3-mana Fel spell. At the start of your next turn, draw 3 additional cards.
That's a lot of cards.
This seems like the card that you include in Questline Demon Hunter because it simply completes the first stage of the questline for you, and then you still have mana open to like cast some spells and complete the second stage on that same turn while playing a bunch of brutes. Like, this is the card that is just because that first stage can be a little bit awkward to complete in the early game. You might like draw 3 cards and not quite have the mana to draw the next one, or you like complete that stage and then you don't really do anything other than play. Like, you have like a mana burn available to you, but that's not when you want to spend it. This just opens up that first wave of brutes so much that like this is the card that and everybody's talking about the next card too, in terms of Questline Demon Hunter. And it's like, do you not see the good one? This is the good one. Put this card in. Stop looking at the damage stuff. Look at the card draw.
Yeah, I guess my question to Corb is, are we cutting Sigil of Alacrity? Like, are you even allowed to play 2 sigils? Are you cutting Acrobatics? Are we cutting Spectral Sight? Like, what are we cutting to fit this?
You can play 2 sigils as long as they're not the same sigil, okay. I believe. Like, Acrobatics is like pretty weak. Glide, depending on the meta, which like maybe that sounds a little silly, but like Glide's also not very strong, as we saw in the first twist, actually. Yeah,
Glide kind of serves a similar purpose where it's just there to complete the first or second stage of your quest, but this kind of does it for you already.
Yeah, Glide is like, if the meta is like particularly combo heavy or like get cards in hand heavy, then it can be useful. So it does depend a little bit on the meta, but like Glide as sort of like a standalone thing is not that strong. I don't think people will ever cut Glide because I think that feels good thing where you shuffle in the opponent's cards is just like a little too addicting. But Acrobatics for sure could go for this. Yeah. And finally, we have a 4-mana 4/4 Mindbender. Battlecry, deal 1 damage for each card that you've drawn this turn. And this goes in the Brand deck. The Brand Questline Demon Hunter with Saronite Shambler, and you just deal infinite damage.
And no other deck. That's the important part here is no other deck.
Right. I think you could actually probably include the Lion's Frenzy in that deck as well, just like as basically right, because you preload the weapon, draw a bunch of cards, reduce their cost, slam the brand into the Mindbender, and blast them in the face for 1 billion damage. So,
and then your opponent plays
so fun.
Yeah, your opponent plays 2
tough. It sounds so much fun, but it's going to be so much worse than just like playing brutes.
Yeah, so clunky. But well. I mean, it's kind of like reliving Shock Spitter a little bit.
If Shock Spitter was a lot worse, but yeah,
a little bit.
All right, I'll take back over here as we move into Druid. First of all, Corb, congrats again on the card reveals. But yeah, let's move to Druid. Let's talk about some spells. Forbidden Fruit, 0 mana. Spend all your mana. Choose 1. Gain that much attack this turn, or twice as much armor. I saw somebody bring this up in Questline Druid. Is this something that we're maybe looking at there?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like that's a terrible rate. Like cards like Nash or Bite are super low quality, and those do gain armor per mana, but they also they gain attack per mana, but they also gain armor. This is a bit more flexible, but it's like flexibility is nice and all, but like spend all my mana for like a 2 mana gain to attack. Like, come on. Like there are better plays that you can make in Hearthstone with like Harmonic Mood and stuff. So yeah, not a big fan.
No, I don't. I hadn't even considered it in Questline Druid just because like Corp said, you already have cards that do effectively both sides of this that people aren't running because they're not good enough. I've seen some chatter about this in Tony Druid as well because it's a spell that has a low mana cost. But like spending all your mana seems a bit...
Sometimes you can't. Yeah, sometimes you just can't play this. Like, and that's bad. It's really bad to get cards in Druid that you can't play.
Exactly. So that was kind of my concern there as well, because like, what if you don't have an Innervate or a Lightning Bloom behind this? What if you have them in front of this? Then you're just kind of boned for the rest of the turn and you lose. I don't think you want a card that's like good a lot of the time, but sometimes if you draw it in the wrong spot, you lose the game. That doesn't sound like a trade-off to me. So doesn't seem that good of a card, does it?
No.
I'm gonna laugh in Standard when somebody activates their Prison of Yogg-Saron on the beginning of their turn with all of their mana crystals up, and then it casts a forbidden spell, like Forbidden Fruit, and then they have to pass their turn. And
I love it. That's something to look forward to.
Just like the good old Oh My Yogs, where you're praying for your opponent to turn it into a forbidden spell. All right. So Forbidden Fruit might not go in Tony Druid, but I've seen some hype for this next card in said deck, and that is Contaminated Lasher. 2 mana, 3/2. Battlecry. If you've cast 5 or more spells this game, refresh 4 mana crystals. Man, this seems like a way to test for objection and explosive runes and stuff like that in the deck if you need to, as well as just being 2 mana gain 4, which is a lot of mana.
Okay. Am I crazy that this also doesn't seem very good in Tony Druid? Because like the return is you pay 2 mana, you get 2 back, right? So it's net 2 mana. But you have to have 2 mana open to do that, right? Which like the Tony turns are already kind of tight.
Aren't the Tony turns tight though because you're limited on mana, and so that's why stuff like the what is the name of this stupid card? Funnel Cakes is like so strong in Tony Druid and stuff like that because you get a whole bunch of mana back.
Right, Funnel Cakes return has the same net return, and it's a spell, so it cycles. Lightning Bloom has the same net return and it's a spell, so it cycles. Bio Project has the same net return, and it's a spell, so it cycles. Innervate's a little bit. What? Oh,
Bio only gives you one, but yeah.
Bio only gives you, Bio and Innervate only give you one, sure, but the cycling,
cycle.
right, seems to matter. I don't know. Am I crazy? Like, yeah, maybe it makes the deck better, but by how much?
Yeah, I think the rat protection, Akani protection stuff is kind of like relevant, but like probably not as much as people think. Like like there are still other tech cards this doesn't help against, right? Like Lothar, Cult Neophyte, Macaw, Ashen, that goddamn Razor Scale. There are a lot of like cards where this just doesn't do anything to the tech, so it's probably not as useful for that reason as people think. And yeah, not cycling is kind of a big deal. What this card does do is it lets the deck live when they ban funnel cakes, which is kind of hilarious. Because if you don't have funnel cakes, you have to play this. And
If
they do that, then you have to play that. But we'll see what they end up doing in the 2024 balance patch for Wild that should be coming out any time now.
Yeah, in 2 weeks when they touch the Warlock location in Wild, and that's it. Yeah, I wanted to bring it up in Tony Druid because that's where I've seen a lot of the conversation about this. Does this go in any other Druid deck in Wild? Like,
I don't think
we don't have Ramp Druid anymore, right? Like the turbo Ramp Druid decks that played a lot of spells, but
right. So what other Druid decks are there right now other than Questline? And
that's honestly a very good point. Yeah. All right. Fair point. Let's talk about our last card here, and that is Aerosolizer. You have to look at the name of the card. The pun makes sense, I promise. It's a 3-mana 2/2 though with Battle Cry and Deathrattle. Summon a 2/2 Treant. So this is basically a 3-mana 4/4 Deathrattle summon a 2/2. Gonna see play in Treant Druid decks, but again, then you're playing Treant Druid in current Wild landscape. And God, I wish Treant Druid was a thing, but
current Wild landscape. I see what you did there.
That was totally not on purpose, but we're gonna pretend it was. Yeah, you guys get to move on to the next class here. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into Hunter here. We have Beastial Madness, 2-mana shadow spell. Give +1 attack to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. That hits every minion plus +1 attack. You don't get the +1/+1 health, or you don't get the health, the +1 health, but that is a lot of attack, and you get to play 2 of these, so you get to have 2 Keleseths in your deck potentially.
Yeah, and it hits your hand in the battlefield. Like that's a lot of numbers. It's like a it's almost it's like a permanent Savage Roar almost, but also does stuff to your hand. Like, I don't know, this card seems like some pretty decent potential. Like, could you just run this in Beast Hunter, or are you not running a high enough density of beasts at that point? Or is there a deck that like some sort of aggressive Trial Eormonger deck that this wants to do that in?
I don't know. I mean, it makes me think of like Pursuit of Justice, the Paladin epic spell, which was 2 mana. For the rest of the game, give +1 attack to Silverhand recruits that you summon. Difference being, obviously, it doesn't hit hand and deck, and it's very specific to the Silverhand recruit, so you don't like buff the tour guide. Difference being that, you know, like a spell lost in the jungle, it'll work, whereas this only works on the actual minions, doesn't work on the spells. So they're somewhat comparable, and Pursuit of Justice sucked. So like that doesn't bode great, I think, for Beastial Madness.
This feels like it hits so much more though than the Silver Recruit spell.
Yeah, no, I think we're falling into that same value trap that maybe we did with those types of cards. So maybe Corb's right. Maybe, like, I don't know, what's the home?
Yeah, that's fair. It's side tangent. Is Beast Hunter going to be joining the category of hand buff Paladin and Rune Mage soon in terms of
No,
decks that
because-
once they get mentioned, we gotta reassess ourselves.
I don't know, because Beast Hunter's still like better than those decks are.
That's not
like,
a
it's
very
still
high
a real
bar,
deck.
you know.
It's still a real deck right now, so
Is
no,
it
not
though?
yet.
Is it a playable
Eventually it will be. Eventually it will be, I'm sure.
All right. Next card, we have Celestial Shot. This is a 3-mana arcane spell. Deal 3 damage. Your next spell has spell damage +2. Yo, odd Questline Hunter support. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, Questline Hunter's back, boys. This is only the 16th time that they've released a spell, and Questline Hunter's back. Yeah. Yeah, get your Wojaks out. It's back. This time for sure, right?
I heard it never left. I heard it's still a menace. so running around wild.
I've also heard that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know. Absolutely cracked card for a dead archetype. Like,
Yeah.
super strong with the arcane stuff for standard as well. And yeah, they need to revert Questline and revert Rapid Fire, and then we can talk. Or we could not do that and just never have to think about this card ever again.
Yeah.
Yes. 2 years ago, this card would have been nuts.
Yeah. 2024, they're just gonna revert everything in Wild, and then we'll actually be able to play this card. Last but not least, Twisted Frostwing, 4-mana 3/3, Rush, Beast, Deathrattle. Summon a Chimera with stats equal to this minion's attack. So baseline, 4-mana 3/3 with Rush, Deathrattle summon a 3/3. But if you play stuff like Beastial Madness, or use some of those synergistic cards from the set with the 2-drop that buffs things, then you buff this, and the thing that you summon gets a lot stronger. It's not a wild playable card, but
no.
I'm just explaining how this works so that people know why it's not a wild playable card. Let's move to Mage. Let's talk about Void Scripture. 2-mana shadow spell. It's important. It's important to note. 2-mana shadow spell. Discover a spell. If you have enough mana to play it, cast a copy of it at a random enemy. It's not a spell from your deck. It is one of those random, mage spells from the pool of all mage spells in Wild. It is a shadow spell though. So if you're playing the mech, or if you're playing Wisdom of Norgannon, or if you're playing multicaster and something, I hate to say it, in something like Quest Mage, I don't know, is Void Scripture something you're looking at in that scenario?
I'm just looking to have some fun with it. I don't know about Quest Mage. Is anyone even playing Quest Mage anymore? Yeah. Probably, but I don't care. Whatever. The format's nuts right now. Let me have some fun with the silly card for a bit.
It's fine / not good.
Yeah, it's probably just a worse Primo Glyph, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it in the mech play many cards from many different classes. What's that card? Inquisitive Creative Secret Mage. Bam! Just play this on turn 5. Get a secret, and it's a 2-mana. No, okay.
No, I think you're not playing this anywhere other than Quest Mage, right? And you have to be Quest Mage that's playing the spell school stuff. And even then, I don't know that I want it.
I think you could play it in a deck built around Inquisitive Creation, like a Reno, not LPG Mage, but a Reno Mage with a bunch of spells. So because you don't want to run Book of Specters as your shadow spell there, you don't want to run Mask of Cthulhu there. So it's just a way to juice your Inquisitive Creation and your Wisdom of Norgannon. Problem is that just like Luna's Pocket Galaxy Mage, that deck sucks and can't win in the current Wild landscape. So who cares?
All right. Second side tangent. I propose that we change the LPG Mage in that rule to just Reno Mage in general.
Agreed.
Seconded. Cool.
Fine.
All right.
I guess I'm overruled.
All right. Next up, we have Meddlesome Servant. 3-mana 3/4 Battlecry. If you've cast 5 or more spells this turn. 5 or more spells this game. Draw 2 cards. Secrets that cost 0 mana. You got Quest and Coins in Quest Mage. Spider Tank that draws 2 cards. Who doesn't love that?
I feel like we've done a lot to try and cram conditional card draw in Secret Mage, and it just doesn't need it, right? Like, it's got Costume Singer, it's got Sage, it had a Lunith for a while, it's got Rig Fair Game most of all. Like, it's fine. Also, the deck sucks now. So
that's
who
why we
cares?
need to think about how to refine it to bring it back. Come on.
This card's not going to do it.
You know how the Armorer in Warrior was like a 3-mana 3/4 and they made it like a 2-mana 2/2, I think?
Mhm.
I wish these cards were 2-mana 2/2s.
Do you
I
though?
kinda don't.
Do you want
Yeah,
Questmage
I-
playing this?
I like playable cards more than unplayable cards, I suppose.
Honestly, yeah, fair point. Fair point.
I don't like playable cards when they give my opponents infinity cards so that they can continue playing playable cards is my problem with it.
All right. Last but not least, we have Tainted Remnant, Elemental Support. Let's go. 5 mana. Elemental. That is a 7/4. Battlecry. If you played an Elemental last turn, deals 7 damage, randomly split between all enemies. Yikes.
Yeah, this card sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was gonna try and say something nice about this card, but it just kind of sucks. It's really good with everyone's favorite Death Knight and Frostlich Jaina.
Is it even though?
No, because you're dead 6 turns before you play her.
And the only deck that plays that is Rune Mage, which is a sign.
Right.
I'm gonna zag. I think it's alright. Elemental Evocation, bring it down on turn 3. You know, it's a turn 3 7/4.
What elementals do you play in the turn 2?
Yeah, I don't know. You got like you got you got Aqua Archivist, Battlecry. The next elemental you play costs 2 less. The 2-mana 2/2, and then you slam this on 3. That kind of sounds like almost a Hearthstone curve.
Yeah, I tried playing a deck built around something similar, and to be fair, it did always just like barely come up short in damage. So maybe this could solve it, but also the deck sucked. I tried so hard, man. I made this beautiful board. Like, I got a Flame Revenant into a bunch of Mana Cheat and just had this massive turn 1 board, and then I just lost to an Even Shaman because they did the same thing but better. So it's like,
Yeah.
the deck just isn't there.
Yeah, it's not there. But if they keep on printing stuff that says like your next elemental you play costs 2 less, like if we just keep on weaving in enough mana cheat, Elemental Mage will get there.
Yeah. It's just not going to get there with this card. Not yet, at least. All right. Let's move to Paladin. Paladin, getting more mechs. You guys got to love that. Let's talk about Muscleotron. 3 mana mech, 2/4. Battlecry. Give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Forge. Give all minions in your hand +2/+2 instead. I mean, the 2 potential homes. You got Mech Paladin and you got Hand Buff Paladin. Does this fit in either of those 2 archetypes?
I mean, one of those is a deck, the other one isn't, and we aren't allowed to talk about. So, you're never forging in a Mech Paladin deck, right? So, is it good enough to just give +1/+1 to everything in hand? Why would I do that when I can just like dump 24 stats into play by cheating mana instead?
And then play Crusader Aurora and give everything on your board +2/+1 instead.
Yeah, or just follow it with the Bubble Bot to make it so that nobody can clear any of it, and then I win the game on turn 3. Yeah, it's
Good card in the Forbidden deck.
Right, good card in Forbidden deck, good card probably in Standard Mech Paladin, but like that has a 3 in its mana cost. Why would I play that card in Wild?
Fair enough. All right, let's talk about another mech. Alarmed Security Bot, 4 mana, 4/3 mech. Deathrattle. Draw another minion. Set its attack, health, and cost to 5. All right, look, I know this card's a mech. We're going to ignore this in Mech Paladin. I think it's very obvious that this doesn't fit the Mech Paladin. Can I interest you in Big Paladin, where you draw a 9-drop or a 10-drop and make it cost 5 mana? Like, it does a very good big priest impression when you play a 5 mana Neptulon.
Yeah, there are 2 problems that there are with this. Yeah, it's Deathrattle, not Battlecry, which is rough. And you don't have like the minion recursion that you have in Big Priest. So if they clear your Neptulon, you just start looking. You just kind of shrug your shoulders and move on to the next game. So I think that's the place to look at it. But like, there's already a mana cheat in those types of decks that isn't that much slower than this. So,
but any speed is good, you know. Any little bit of speed.
And I don't know if it is speed though, right? Because duel comes down the same turn that you just play the minion, right? The benefit of this card is that it does play nice with duel at least.
Does it actually play nice with duel? That's a 4-attack minion you're getting off a duel.
It doesn't play horribly with duel, I guess, because it's likely to die, right? Is the upside that like normally with those minion cheats you're kind of like, oh, please draw them before the duel or something like that. This at least like functions with the deck. I think it's probably fine to include in that type of deck, but I don't think it's the thing that like pushes that deck into viability.
Card. In standard Big Paladin, it's probably like, it's not a Barnes, but I mean it's pretty damn good. Like if you get anything in standard, like really nice. Wild, Deathrattle too slow, I think. The Big Paladin to be really worth it. There are some interesting cards though for sure. First one could be the new Yogg Titan, which we haven't mentioned yet because, you know, then that might go down to Ziromana on turn 5. So like that seems kind of strong, sort of. The other one that I thought of was Thaddeus. Is there a Thaddeus deck that we could do with this? Is that a thing that we could do?
Idis and the 1 mana.
Holy mackerel. Could that be just an OTK? Is that it? Like you play this and then you get your 5 mana Thaddeus and then you somehow high rolled and didn't draw the Idis because you're such a good player.
Or you did draw the Idis, right?
Oh, so you did draw the Idis. Yeah.
Right.
So maybe
but you hit Thaddeus and not Idis off of the Deathrattle on this.
Yeah, look, it's not the perfect plan. But I mean, it's an interesting thing a little bit. Throwing it out there.
Yeah, I will say I think this is the most interesting Paladin card by far. In terms of like playability and potential, I think it is.
I disagree.
You like the last one better?
Yeah. I think if you're looking for a card in Big Paladin, this is the one you're looking at.
I think Security Bot is interesting because it could go in other decks, but you know, whatever. Keeper Strength. Let's talk about that next one. 4 mana Holy Spell. 4 mana. Give a friendly minion +2/+2. Deal its attack damage to all other minions. So you cheat something out in Big Paladin, and then spend 4 whole mana. So it's a lot of mana, Roffle. That's a lot of mana, bro. You want to take back your comment?
Yeah, I do. I misread this
what
card.
Did you think this did?
I thought it was a minion in hand.
Oh. Yeah,
minion in hand would have been like the most premium of board clears.
Yeah. That card would have actually been good. Card as printed though. I'm not. I don't know. No. All right. So can we go back to Security Bot? Yeah, totally the best Paladin card revealed out of these.
I apologize. I will go back to school and learn how to read.
It's all right. Look, we made it all the way to Paladin before we got a reading comprehension issue. So, you know, we're improving. That's all I got to say. All right, let's move on to Priest. We have Shadow Touched Cavaldier. 1 mana, 1/3 undead. Battlecry. Your next healing effect deals damage instead. Been talking about how there's no good undeads for that Priest deck. So 1 mana, 1/3 undead. I don't know what healing effect those decks are playing, but it is just a 1 mana, 1/3 undead minion in Shadow Aggro Priest, in Shadow Undead Aggro Priest specifically in Wild. Am I alone in thinking that this card might eventually see play?
We just have Mistake. We have Undertaker. We have like Arms Dealer. Like we do have 1 mana undeads. It's like the payoffs aren't great for them. I don't know if it's necessarily the minion quality. We have the Egg.
I feel like the undead payoffs are like the reason to play that deck though, right? Grave Digging and what's his face? Basilisk.
Yeah, no, I agree that they are the reason to play that deck, but those payoffs are worse than like what pirates can do or something along those lines, right? That's the concern, is that the payoffs aren't strong enough to justify running those cards. It's not the minion quality, it's the payoffs that aren't doing enough.
Well, I think the undead, there's actually some interesting shit you can do with this in like an aggro priest, like Zombie Chow, right? You play this and Zombie Chow's an undead, premium statted, and now all of a sudden it's dealing 5 damage to the enemy hero. Carries over multiple turns. Like I think that's like I'm kind of scrolling through and trying to find like good payoffs for that, and that seems like a really strong synergy, like really powerful.
Chow buffs your Undertaker as well. Like, yeah, I'm down.
Mm-hmm. Trying to find anything else. I mean, there is the Reno combo, which I'm sure has already been mentioned probably 10,000 times by this point.
Would you say that combo ends it, Corb?
Oh, it absolutely ends it. No doubt about that. But I try to find other stuff, like, you know, things like Flash Heal and Renew. They're cute, but I'm not sure how realistic they really are.
Like, we have that card in, right?
You have Embrace and like Alkanai and the 2-drop that do that already. Like,
so it's like,
yeah, but
if you're going that route, I don't think I think the Zombie Chow is maybe cute. I don't know if it's reliable enough to justify, other than like maybe just making another 1/3 opener in your in that deck. Like, that's probably just good enough. I don't think you need to like start putting healing cards in a deck around Shadow Touch Cabaldier when you just have the Akanai card.
yeah. I mean, like, it would have to go into a deck that's already making use of those things, and they don't really exist right now. So it is kind of hard to find like the really, really strong payoff. But this card is like potentially just super broken. So I'm trying to just keep an eye out and see what you can do with it, because the fact that it is 1 mana matters a huge deal. Like, it's so cheap and carries over multiple turns, which is something that like the Arcanine Soul Priest doesn't, and that's like, you know, it's very, very different. So I don't know. This card is like, it's like 5-star, but like,
is
like,
the shell
it should
there?
be really
Is the question.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. We'll just have to see. There might be something that's missing, because like I'm only reading the card now, to be honest.
Yeah. Every day we get closer and closer to that undead aggro Shadow Priest being legit, and maybe that deck plays something like Twilight Torrent, which is our next spell here. Probably not, but maybe. It's a 2-mana shadow spell. Choose a character. If it's friendly, restore 6 health. If it's an enemy, deal 3 damage. So actually, maybe this doesn't work with Cavaldier now that I'm reading it, because then you choose something and it restores 6, and then it kills your minion. Or it's just a Dark Bomb, basically, like 2-mana, deal 3. It is a shadow spell, so it can fit in that deck. Yeah, I mean, like Mindseer, Mind Blast, Twilight Torrent, boom, just a billion damage spells. You're burn, easy.
Yeah, this is just a good quality card. It's also flexible enough that you can run it in like a Shadow Reno Priest as well. Like, you just kind of run this card, right? Like, it's just kind of good. Do you play it in Big Priest? Maybe. I don't know. Like, people who are running Penance, this might be close enough. Yeah, it's a good card.
Yeah, flexible, decent, good. Reno Priest in particular, I think.
Yeah.
Is the
I forgot about that. Yeah, just good card. All right, Soul Burner Varia is our last card here for Priest. First, I think legendary that we're talking about. 3 mana, 1/5 undead. After a friendly undead dies, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero and get a random Shadow Priest spell. There you go, another payoff for that aggro undead priest that, you know, we've been talking about a little bit. You play this on 3, trade off your Chow that deals 5, and then this deals an extra 2. Boom, easy. I think this card, my struggle is in the past the undeads have not been very like board resilient in terms of a deck, and so I don't know how much you're getting value off of like playing this and then trading things off, because again, you are an aggro deck. People are probably wanting to kill your minions to begin with, so it's kind of hard to evaluate this, even though it does seem like it's supposed to be a payoff.
Yeah, and we've seen kind of different iterations of this type of effect before, and they've all been pretty bad, where like when something dies, you get value off of it. The benefit here is that like it's doing something that the deck already wants to do, which is kill off its undead minions. And dealing damage to the opponent's face. It hits relatively narrow subset of cards. So like as a value engine, it's okay, but you're more looking at it for the damage. The thing is, you could just play a minion that like does more damage to the opponent's face is probably the issue. So I doubt that this is going to be as impactful an inclusion in that Undead Shadow Priest as the Shadow Touch Cavaldier.
Yeah, not super impressed with this one, but it's okay. Like you probably throw it in because it says undead.
Yeah,
yeah.
It does have the benefit of having the undead tag itself, which
more than you could say for Basilisk, I think. Right? I don't think Basilisk's an undead himself, but yeah. All right, let's move into Rogue. We have Assembly Line, throwback, very classic spell. It's a 1 mana discover a mech from another class. What are your high rolls in Mech Rogue? Discover a Mecha Shark with all your Spark bots. Discover a Bubble Bot. I don't know.
There's a lot of like bad mech class cards too, though. Like a lot of the Hunter ones wouldn't be great. Like Metal Tooth Leaper might be okay, but like I don't know. The neutral cards are a lot of times what keeps the mech package together, like, and not being able to hit like a Mech Warp or another Galvanizer is I don't know. I would have to like look at the mech pool, but also it is itself not a mech, so you're like, I don't know, you're spending mana not developing a board on a board based type of deck. It's also Mech Rogue. That doesn't really exist anymore in their format.
Yeah, I think it's like a pretty good standard card, but it's like not for wild. Like discover pool too much. Yeah.
So about the next 2 mana deal 3 card, and that is Tentacle Grip. The art in this, poor Sparkbot, man. It's poor Sparkbot. 2 mana deal 3 damage combo. Get a 1/1 Chaotic Tendril. So 2 mana 3/3. Get a 1/1 that cast a random 1-cost spell. Good enough to see play or nah?
Probably in a standard Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, it's just a good card. Like power level, like arena powerhouse, I am sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. Like, you're not gonna put this in wild Hearthstone decks. Yeah, I don't think.
Tiny World Breaker. Surely this one will get played. It's a 4 mana 4/4 mech. Battle Cry. If you control another mech, deal 4 damage. I'm ready for the brand Mech Warper, Galvanizer, World Breaker, bounce around, do it again, kill somebody. I'm sure that'll be a competitive deck.
And you throw in a shark. I guess brand's better than shark. But
you can replace brand with shark. Same thing.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Make that a deck. That'd be great. Yeah. Actually, no. Scabs is a combo. That's why you need shark. Otherwise, we'd always play brand. Oh, I guess Pillager's combo. Whatever.
Well,
anyway.
Do you even need the combo aspect of shark because all the mech stuff is battle cries anyways? But then you need mana for bounce around. Never mind. Yeah.
Scabs.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's not amazing. Like it's fine. Gormech the Impale. Like, I think it's fine in standard again. Wild, it's kind of 4 mana is sort of infinite mana. Like it's an incredible amount of mana. I've never seen a card that costs this much mana in my life in Wild Hearthstone. So yeah, kind of tough.
Raffle doesn't even want to say anything. We're good.
Jesus, Raffle. Wow.
I think it's a really high quality standard card again. I think, but Mech Rogue is, I don't know.
Mech Rogue and Wild is not
and that combo deck also doesn't seem terribly appealing after hearing all the cards that you needed to have in hand at the same time.
Look, that's not going to stop people from doing it. Have you seen people playing that Alex Straza deck now in Wild? That plays like you put all your stuff in the ETC, and so you have to like you shark and scabs, and then you ETC and you get back potion plus something, potion and Alex. It's convoluted. Dude, people are fiending for pillager rogue decks. All right,
that killed me on turn 8 the other day.
How did you get the turn 8 in wild?
Evasion, Shadow of Demise into the third evasion, cloak, OTK.
That's how you get turn 8. You just play 4 blocks. Boom. But look, if people are playing that Alex deck, that's all I'm saying. If people are playing that Alex deck, like, I'm sure somebody is going to try to do a World Breaker deck, and it's going to win a game. It's going to make it to Reddit. It's going to be a clip on Twitter or X or whatever. It's going to happen. I know it is. I already know it. All right. Let's move into Shaman here. Let's start with the cutest little elemental beast that is Shock Hopper. 1 mana, 1/2 elemental beast. Battle Cry. Get a random overload card. Man, this just said draw an overload card from your deck. Ooh wee. But random.
We don't need more good frogs and Frog Shaman.
Or do we? But but random overload cards.
It's so cute. I love it.
Yeah.
It won't be played.
Yeah. All right. What about Conductivity? 2 mana nature spell. The next spell you cast this turn also targets adjacent minions.
So this has to have a target, right? Like, this doesn't work with spells that are untargeted, I imagine, because... Does it?
What do you, like, you thinking, like, the 3 mana, like, deal 3, gain 3 attack stuff? Or, like, wind chill?
I'm saying, like, you want to play this with, like, an Ancestor's Call. Like, can you do that, or do you need to, like, actually target something?
Or what, like a Clash of Thunder?
Oh.
I imagine it probably needs to be targeted. It seems like a spell version of Zentimo, right?
But if you play a spell that can't target, does that eat up your bonus?
I would guess so, but I don't know. Well, I don't think it's something that we can speculate on either way at this point.
I would imagine that it has to be targeted, but the Zentimo wording is, like, pretty specific. It's like, when you target a minion, it also targets adjacent. Like, it's really explicit. This is why we should be reading. This is why we need to do homework, guys. I'm sure this has been mentioned elsewhere.
No, I don't think anybody's taking a second look at this card.
Yeah. Well, hey, Blizz devs, get at us. Tell us how this card works, or anybody else that actually understands Hearthstone rules. Get at us and let us know how this works. Infested Watcher. 4 mana, 4/4. Taunt. Deathrattle. Get 2 1/1 Chaotic Tendrils. Roffle. This is just clicking. I know what your first deck is going to be. It has to be Shutterwalk Shaman with Chaotic Tendrils, right? Like,
that was without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. That just whatever. All right. What were you saying about Infested Watcher?
I just love Chaotic Tendrils is all I was saying.
So same part of the conversation.
Just slowly and infinitely ramping up those Chaotic Tendrils. Like, you could turn Shutterwalk into a DIY Rod of Roasting that way by just getting a bunch of Pyroblasts off of them. There's also Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron's. Like, yeah. I'm going to do my best.
Sorry, I'm lost in the source. I'm still looking at Conductivity. I am looking forward to that YouTube video. Sorry, I'm just thinking back, like, if you have Zentimo and Conductivity, and there are like 5 minions on the board, then couldn't you target a minion like 9 times?
Isn't that because I don't know. That seems like it's the way Zentimo works though. Does it retarget them?
It says also target, right?
Right.
So like the Conductivity would all I don't know.
No, it says cast it again on its neighbors. So I don't think that like
But then because it's recasting, you've already used your one from Conductivity. So I think
it's kind of a brand situation where it's like it's not gonna it's not gonna double things.
Okay, no, you're right. Anyway, sorry. I look forward to the Yogg video.
All right. Let's move into Warlock here. Let's talk about Curse of Flesh. 1 mana, shadow spell. Enemy minions cost health instead of mana next turn. I'm not going to lie to you, this is very confusing to me because this reads like it's supposed to be a tech card, but all I'm seeing is that it wins your opponent the game.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the worst card ever.
I don't
Like
know
honestly, I was about
but
to say that is a bold statement, but honestly, like, is it
yeah.
actually that bold of a statement?
It's probably pretty close. I don't think you run this in any deck for any reason, unless you.
I know what deck
do
it
an
goes in. It goes in the Warlock deck that you play when you have the Challenger Friend request and you're just trying to end the game as fast as possible. Yeah.
But it doesn't even like. Then the opponent gets to kill themselves first with that,
But
and so they
regardless,
win
the game is over, right? And that's the whole point. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you're supposed to be doing with this. I'm actually so confused by this card.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah. All right.
Baffling.
Let's talk about Encroaching Insanity. 3 mana, Shadow Spell. Both players take fatigue damage twice. We obviously Disneyland with the Questline reward, right? But it seems like this has to be in a deck. I think it has to be in a deck with the fatigue cards from earlier this year, where you're playing Crescendo and the Imp stuff. I think I don't think you could just play this card in Fatigue Warlock, right? Or like Questline Warlock.
No. I think it's meant to build up to the Crescendo stuff. It's support for that card. But you're also spending 3 mana to do that on its own. It seems really bad.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like thinking Curse of Agony stuff, like just adding on more fatigue ticks, but then you need the opponent to actually draw the Curse of Agonies. There's probably like a really nice, terrible, awful, abysmal tier 7, like Tams and Tony fatigue curse deck.
Now you got Roffle cooking.
Yeah. No, that sounds awful.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like Warlock got a bit of a questionable set.
What do you mean? We haven't even gotten to the last one yet, and that's Tentacle Tender. 3 mana, 2/5 at the end of your turn. Get a 1/1 Chaotic Tendril.
Oh.
Sorry, I tried.
Yeah, it's fine.
You did your
I don't
best.
know. Maybe the Chaotic Tendrils are nuts. Maybe they're broken.
I'll find out day 1, hour 1.
Yeah.
He's gonna play his first spell, and it's gonna Soulfire the Reno out of his hand, or the Shuttlewalk out of his hand on the first Chaotic Tendril, and he's off of it. He's never gonna play the deck again. So
I mean, that'll happen, but I'll keep playing.
I just realized, like with Raised Deads and stuff, and trying to play as many Chaotic Tendrils, is this just like random Automaton Priest? Is that what Tendrils are? It's a good archetype.
If Warlock had something other than just Tentacle Tender, yes. But instead they got Curse of Flesh. So
yeah. They sure did. Yeah, very very bad set.
One of the cards of all time. All right, let's move into Warrior Wild Savior at the moment.
Good set. Yeah, let's do it.
In drastic contrast to Warlock. First off, we have Battle Worn Faceless. 2 mana, 2/2, Battle Cry. Transform into a copy of a damaged minion. So we have effects similar to this in Bloodsworn Mercenary, except Bloodsworn Mercenary comes with the additional 3/3, right? This is 1 mana cheaper though, but yeah, it has like the same effect for 1 mana cheaper because you're copying the card you care about.
It can copy enemies, which Bloodsworn can't. So you want to copy that Titan from the opponent? Bam! There you go.
That is something I completely glossed over, but yes, it does.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, I don't know. The card's like pretty interesting. As a combo thing, like there are going to be decks where Merc is better, like for sure, but there are going to be combos where this is better, like where the 1 mana is really relevant. So, not sure, but like that can make a big difference. Like, is there going to be a Warrior deck that really plays this? I don't know. Like, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure like Wild doesn't play enough big dumb fatties, and usually is like pretty aggressive, low to the ground, and it's a little bit too situational going. Like, I'm picturing like, oh, do we put this in Even Warrior? Like, no, right? Like, Even Warrior doesn't make any sense really. But it's a pretty good card. Like, just really baseline strong. Two mana Faceless Manipulator, basically.
Yeah.
With a slight condition. And 3 mana is worth that condition, absolutely.
Isn't this just like a Warsong Warrior card? Like, you just play this on a Frothing Berserker. It doesn't take up a board slot, but you get like slightly less damage off of your skipper as a result of it. So like, I don't know, some situations it's better if you're playing the to the front version, you're just already paying the same amount of mana, so the mana cost isn't really the difference. It's more about like the maybe you don't need the to the front in certain combos, and the board space could be clunky at times, although you can always just trade off the mercenary or get the extra face damage. So that's where I see it most likely, or like just enrage shenanigans in general if you're running the anime extractor. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got some potential. Like Bloodsword Mercenary is a card that sees play, so why wouldn't this?
Yeah, Rage is like, in theory, like a decent shout, right? Because a buff minion and then you copy it. The problem is, what if the Battle Worn Faceless eats the buffs? Then that's kind of a little bit of a waste, and there's a bit of like awkwardness there. But yeah, like I imagine a lot of the time Bloodsworn's better in any deck that's playing it to the front, because if they both go into 1 mana, a lot of time Bloodsworn's probably just like a more flexible piece. But yeah, I don't know. Like Warrior, there will be combos where this is better and some where it's worse. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
I do find it kind of funny that people are a little sad about what is the card called, Reverberations in Standard, because it makes playing big flashy minions kind of bad, and then Battle War Face is just like, yeah, me too, you know?
Me too. Yeah,
my Titan too.
Warrior, Warrior is so good in Standard. Like, this is such a good Standard card.
All right, let's talk about a card that might be good in Wild. You know, Sanitize. That's it's an even mana number up there at 4. 4 mana with Forge. Deal damage equal to your armor to all minions. This is just Reckless Flurry, but you don't lose your armor. So, if you Forge, you will then also gain 3 armor first. So, this has the potential to do nothing, but if you Forge, this is at least 4 mana, deal 3 to everything. But you are also Even Warrior, so this is likely doing a lot more than 3 damage.
Yeah.
They really just say, Reckless Flurry, you are never seeing play ever again. Yeah, this card seems really good. Am I maybe misreading or overhyping this?
No, it seems bonkers to me.
Yeah. Even Warrior or Savior, right?
Yeah. I mean, broken, right? Like, we can replace Shield Shadow. That would be, you know.
Don't even joke about this. Come on, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
I think you just play both of these. Any people that were like still playing Ranker or whatever, like, no, not anymore. But yeah, this card's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, we got a legendary. Unfortunately, he costs 7, so we cannot fit an Even Warrior. But General Vizax, I don't know if I'm saying that right. 7 mana, 7/6 with Rush. Battlecry, gain 4 armor. Deathrattle, lose 4 armor to resummon this. If I am reading this or understanding this correctly, if you have enough armor, this guy just is like, doesn't die. He's just like infinite. You can kill infinite like Bloody Cahoons or whatever if you have enough armor and haven't already died for some reason. It's not an Even Warrior card, but like Dead Man's Hand, Odd Warrior. Where am I playing this? Am I playing this?
If you're playing it anywhere, probably Odd Warrior, right? Like, you should have the armor to play it. It's like, it's just a matter of like if the rest of the cards in Odd Warrior are good enough, or if this flips enough matchups to make it, worth playing in Odd Warrior. And maybe, I don't know. I'll certainly give it a try.
I mean, you kind of just pretend that it's a way better like Rattle Gore, which you pretend is good enough. If you're playing Odd Warrior. So yeah, like the win condition that Odd Warrior needed, we got it.
Yeah. No, the win condition Odd Warrior needed is when Odin gets nerfed because of Standard from 8 mana to 9, and then we lose Even Warrior.
Buff it to 7. Just do it.
Warrior's not good enough, as what you just said right earlier, like 2 minutes ago. Yeah. I don't think this card will see any play, but I do think he's like cool.
Right? Oh, it's gonna see play because I'm gonna play it.
Roffle, you play every card, so like you can't. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah, but this one in particular, like it'll be towards the front of the line. It looks pretty cool.
I just don't think that the greater public will play this card. I think I have to maybe now specify if you're going to call me out on that. All right, let's move on to neutrals. Let's talk about Chaotic Tendril. Whoa, never seen this card before. This is a collectible card. 1 mana, 1/1. Battle Cry. Cast a random 1-cost spell. Increase your future Chaotic Tendrils. Guys, we've never talked about these things before. How are you guys feeling about them?
I'm excited for them. They look fun. They're goofy.
Yeah. They're pretty funny. I don't have a ton of hope for them. But it wouldn't shock me if they're like better than people are giving them credit for.
I don't know, dude. I'm seeing the word random. I've been conditioned to when I see the word random. I'm just like, yeah, shudder. Can't play it. Can't do it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either if one of you guys made the bold prediction, like we did with automatons, that this is going to be playable, I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't agree, but I wouldn't disagree. Like I wouldn't be surprised. All right. The next neutral card here is Prison Breaker. So this is a 4-mana 4/4 battle cry. If you've cast 5 or more spells this game, deal 3 damage to all enemies. So this seems potentially sweet in something like Arena, but yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people float things like Quest Druid, like giving a deck like that access to AoE. I don't think it's good enough. Like I think 4-mana 4/4 deal 3 AoE is actually like bizarrely kind of not up to wild right now. Like, am I wrong? I kind of like, there's a default assumption that like old Dustbreaker equal good, but like Dustbreaker power crept, Dustbreaker buff, maybe.
Yeah, but Dustbreaker to 3, baby. Let's go. I'm down. It's also all of your minions in Questline Druid aren't supposed to cost you mana, and then this will always cost you 4 mana, which is like a little bit, eh.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of times, like this isn't getting the job done against like Mech Paladin or even Shaman, because even Shaman's too tall and Mech Paladin is too Divine Shield.
Yeah. I'm not sold on this card.
Yeah, I don't think it fixes the matchups and that you want it to for Questline Druid in particular, and doesn't really fit with the main game plan of the deck. It's a pretty hefty investment as well to like get to the point where it does something.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Eye of Chaos. 5 mana, 5/4 battle cry. Get to 1/1 Chaotic Tendrils. Is this seeing play anywhere outside of Roffle's Shutterwalk Chaotic Tendril deck?
I don't think it's seeing play there, man. That's a lot of mana.
Yeah. You know everything Corb said earlier about 4 mana? What does that mana cost in Wild? Man, this is 5 mana, 5/4. No immediate impacts. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Cho'Gall, Twilight Chieftain. 6 mana, 6/7. Good stats for the cost. Taunt and Lifesteal. So just immediately, 6 mana, 6/7, Taunt, Lifesteal. Start of game, 25% chance to corrupt the game with a random anomaly. So essentially how this is going to work, right? We talked about this a little bit earlier about how they're introducing anomalies to standard. There's going to be an event that's happening where you're going to have a very high chance to get anomalies. If the players have Cho'Gall, there's a chance that you get 2 anomalies. And then after this event is done, Cho'Gall is the way that you're going to introduce anomalies to the game. And so this, I feel like, is a very Nozdormu-esque card, right? Where like you opt into that gameplay pattern post-event. I don't really know how we assess this outside of once we see the 20 anomalies and things like that. But also for fun after the event.
Yeah, I think it's a fun, goofy card for people that like the anomalies and want them to continue after the event. And then it's also just like not a terrible stat line, at least. Like it does something as a card sometimes. So like it's not like a Prince Renethal where it's a full-on spider tank necessarily. So it's, or even a like Nozdormu where it's a 7-mana card that doesn't have immediate impact. So it's like, it's not a good card, but it's a card that you're less upset about playing in your deck.
I think it's really easy to like throw Shogal out as this kind of like a meme idea, something that won't have any impact. But the more I'm kind of thinking about it, the more. I mean, we have to see what the anomalies do, right? But like, there in any given meta, there will inevitably be some decks that are much better suited to the anomalies. I imagine, like on average, than the other decks. I imagine it's gonna be like aggressive stuff, stuff with card draw, things that go fast, take advantage, and all that stuff. And so I do wonder, like, okay, like in terms of like the math problem of it, you know, like how much of a bonus in win rate do you need for this to actually be worthwhile? And like we don't know what the anomalies are, but if it can create like an imbalance where like a matchup that usually is 50-50 all of a sudden becomes like 60-40 on average because of the anomalies, then it'll actually be worth it to run. And so it's such a weird card because we haven't really seen anything like this before. But I mean, in terms of like start of game effects that change how the game works, I really don't want to try and dismiss it because there's a very real chance that this could become less of a meme than people might think.
I will wait until somebody has done the math for me and then tells me. I'm going to wait until 2 weeks when you come on the show and you tell me and show me the math that it is competitively correct to be playing Cho'Gall in my deck. And then I'll believe you and I'll do it. But
I'll play it either way.
Roffle, we know that. All right, we're not questioning that. I also... How impactful... obviously, again, wait till the anomalies come out. Those anomalies are going to have to be like super impactful to make that statement like true, right? Where you're going to get like a 10% win rate bonus.
Well, maybe, but they don't have to be that impactful. They just have to be like a net positive that for your deck and more than the
not
other deck.
Other decks in the format.
Yeah, like, and there will be decks that benefit more on average for sure, right? And then, so it just depends on like how big is the downside of running good stats for cost. And maybe that's like a really strong downside, but yeah, I don't know. Like until we actually see it, I don't want to write stuff as a meme yet because like there's definitely a real chance. I think.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying there's a chance, a 25% chance.
To be specific, I will also say tinfoil hat. I don't think this is a 6-mana 6/7 by accident. Yeah, but anyways,
no, I don't. That's not tinfoil hat. That's just very clearly what they had in mind for the card.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, last but not least, let's talk about Yogg-Saron. 15 mana. It's a lot of mana, or is it? He's a 15 mana Titan that cost 1 less for each spell you've cast this game. So 15 mana 7/5 Titan. I'm going to run through his 3 abilities because he is a Titan. You have Reign of Chaos. Take control of an enemy minion. You just mind control something. You have Induce Insanity. Force each enemy minion to attack a random enemy minion. So a one-sided mass hysteria. And then you have Tentacle Swarm. Fill your hand with 1/1 Chaotic Tendrils. Okay, so one clarification point here that I've seen. Spells cast from, Chaotic Tendrils or things like that do not discount Yogg-Saron. They have to be spells that you are playing. This is how things have always worked for Yogg, and even stuff like Arcane Giant. And so just to make sure that that's clear, I know that Chaotic Tendrils are like a huge thing for this mini set. A little bit weird that they're not going to discount Yogg, but that's just kind of like how the rules have always worked. So I just want to make sure that's clear in case anybody was thinking that it would work like that. That being said, Yogg-Saron, I feel like if you are an Arcane Giant deck in Wild, I think you at least think about Yogg-Saron. The question is, outside of Roffle, is this seeing play in any deck that's not an Arcane Giant deck in Wild?
I mean, there's a handful of Arcane Giant decks already, right? We talked about Questline Druid. If you're running high density of spells, like what about Questline Demon Hunter? Like, could you consider that here as a contingency when your board gets cleared? Like, is
when Tony gets banned in Wild, play this
right
one.
when Tony gets banned in Wild? Yes, Copium. Like, there's, I don't know. any deck with like a fair number of spells probably wants to consider this at least, right? Like a one-sided Mass Hysteria is pretty good, isn't it?
No, one side Mass Hysteria good, but like 3 mana heavier than Arcane Giant bad. But I guess like Miracle Rogue, could do it. Questline Druid, I feel like less so, because I think the Arcane Giants are already kind of at the absolute cusp of like mana cost and stuff. But maybe, I mean, Arcane Giants aren't great, so like maybe you can just like cut them and play this instead. Like, it's fine. It does give you extra late game and stuff, but yeah, it's fine. The idea with the Paladin card is something that I still really like, because like a turn 5 Yogg coming down for like 0, or like maybe you can get it down for free on like and combine it with something else powerful on 5 is really good. So yeah, I don't know, it's decent. I'm happy that it's not like, if they were putting a Yogg Titan, I'm happy with these as the abilities. I think this could have gotten a lot like a lot worse in terms of the randomness. Yeah. So, you know, I think we've kind of dodged the bullets here.
Yeah, because especially in a format like Standard, right now, I could see this being a little bit more impactful there. And people probably don't want like a actual Yogg Ziromana in the metagame most of the time.
I mean, we have Prison of Yogg, and that card is tilting me up the wall. Like, I hate that card in Standard right now.
Everybody says they want Yogg until they have Yogg, and then they don't want Yogg.
People want Yogg. People still love Yogg. It's like the people that don't want Yogg don't want Yogg.
They very much don't want Yogg, yeah.
Yeah. So Roffle wants Yogg. It sounds like Corb doesn't want Yogg, obviously. But I'm gonna stay on the fence here. I'm not gonna pick a side. I will say, God, I'm gonna just fully embrace it. I enjoyed the Amenthul Big Priest list. You just play a Big Priest list with Amenthul and Yogg Shrine. You're just playing Titan Priest at that point.
Now
and that sounds a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
Is that good? Wait.
No. I mean, you can win games with it.
Okay, because it's still Big Priest, but like Neptulon better.
Yeah.
Neptulon is better, yeah.
Look,
yeah, okay.
You play the Amenthul. Low-key, Amenthul, I think, is just correct in Big Priest if you're, like, trying to win. Like, that card just does so much. So much. I think that card is just so good. Yeah, you could full meme and just, like, replace the Neptulon and you can play Yogg and have fun. You know, you're playing Big Priest. People are going to hate you. They might hate you a little bit less if you play a Yogg, is all I'm going to say. So
yeah, it's certainly a lot more fun to play against, which probably indicates it's the worst deck.
Very good point. Yeah. All right, that is all 38 of the cards. How are we feeling about this mini set for Wild, guys? Is Wild saved? Memes aside.
We get a Yogg, so I'm happy. I think it's probably lower than average in power level across the board. Warrior probably is the big winner here, just because it gets like a immediate high impact card for a deck that people are already playing and is already doing well. So Warrior's probably looking pretty good. Demon Hunter got some new juice from the 3 mana spell. Everything else looking kind of sad, to be honest. Maybe
you got aggro priest. I know everybody loves that deck, but you got undead aggro priest.
So it's pretty low impact. I think honestly, one of the bigger things I'm excited about is, first of all, the balance change is coming, and second of all, like playing with anomalies, and getting a chance to see how those shake things up is a little bit more appealing than like necessarily the cards themselves for our format, at least.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I'm more looking forward to fixes rather than new stuff. Because even when we get the new cards, I really doubt that, like, obviously Twist isn't impacted, right? Like no change there. And then Wild, like, I don't think like a new busted 4-mana Twisting Nether and Even Warrior is suddenly making me want to like queue up tons of games of Wild. So I'm kind of just waiting until I'm excited to stream either format again. But yeah, Even Warrior getting like a new best card, that seems kind of good. The deck was already like tier 1, so seems neat. But I am probably interested in trying out the Shadow Priest stuff, like the Shadow Touched Calvadir, Zombie Chow, Undead. Like that seems. I like it when we get like new decks to explore, even if it's kind of more like a twist on a established archetype.
All right, so you guys let us know down in the comments how you guys feel about Anomalies, how you guys are feeling about the new cards, and most importantly, tell us how excited you are for this upcoming balance patch, because I think that's what we're all three looking forward to the most. I'm not going to spend too much time here at the end, because it's been an hour and 50 minutes. Card review episodes, guys, always go forever. So thanks for sticking with us, for all of you guys that listened all the way to the end. I appreciate you guys. And you too, thanks for sticking with me for 2 hours. And I appreciate you guys a ton. Let the people know where they can find you guys and your content once this Miniset goes live on Tuesday.
Yeah, you can find me streaming on Twitch and YouTube at Roffle, and daily videos on YouTube.
You can find me at Corbettgames on Twitter and YouTube, or just Corbett on Twitch.
Yep. He called it Twitter this time, guys. He went back. Love it. You guys can find me at GetMeowth on all those platforms. Appreciate, again, all of you guys that listened all the way to the end every episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys again next week.